Those who have got caught watching P*** as kids, how did your parents find out? I found my dad's VHS collection when I was a teen. One time I forgot to put one of the tapes back. Actually, I specifically recall the movie was Trampire. Anyhow, my dad comes into my room a few days later and says if you borrow my SH, put it back where you found it. We're never discussing this again. I discovered my dad's VHS collection too, and one day he dropped by home from work way earlier, and I had been taking my sweet time with Tokyo Decadence. He asked me what I was watching. I boldly rebutted with a "Didn't you promise Mom to get rid of those?" He mumbled something, went back to work, and the incident was never mentioned again. Even when they found the traces of other activity, I chalked it up to a night incident and they pretended to buy it. Bless my parents' live and let live attitude. My brother told on himself after finding Dad's VHS collection. My brother is also accident prone, and we'd had CPS called on us after he'd broke his clavicle when he was 12. Backflip off the couch into an entertainment system watching wrestling his fault. And when the social service person was asking all the questions, eventually they asked about Sewell A. Do your parents force you to watch Sewell things? No, but Dad hides his movies under his water bed, but don't tell him because he'll move them. He's an idiot. BTW. CPS closed the case pretty quickly. We were accident-prone kids and half of our visits were for school-related incidents. Honestly, that might have been a better answer than if he had just denied it. Sometimes social workers have a narrative they're looking for answers for. And if he had said no while being embarrassed about borrowing your dad's pee, the worker might have thought that it was a sign of something being hidden. Our parents were always positive about any questions we had. There was nothing to be embarrassed about. My mom was the best at getting rid of the embarrassment. Bro had to go buy his first pack of condoms on his own. She'd wait until we were driving in the car somewhere and do the S-talk where we couldn't get away. There was no way she'd let embarrassment get in the way of being safe. We're an odd family that way. We're also very death positive, so the illusion of death isn't as scary to us as other people, I guess. I have my own cemetery plot already, and my parents already have their own tombstone together. They got it as a Christmas present from my grandparents one year. My dad took my iPod Touch away when I was 13 as a punishment for something, and I called him at work and asked him to please delete the search history without looking at it. 3 seconds later he said, "So, Asian girls, huh? Hold up, you got your phone taken away and requested your dad delete the history. You dry snitched on yourself." I did this once as a teen. I had a D-test for a job. 2 weeks later I didn't hear anything. I asked my supervisor, did I pass my D-test? He laughed and said, "Is there a reason you shouldn't pass?" I knew I'd just F'd up. 2 weeks is way too long. Even those who us clean would be afraid if something weird happened. I never heard back, meaning I passed. No news is good news. I printed out photos to reference later. Only computer was in the family room. After they finished, I turned off the printer and secured my stack of materials. I felt I had gotten away with the perfect crime, until my mom went to use the computer and a photo started printing that had gotten stuck in the queue. Same thing happened here, but rather than a talking to, I came home from school that day to 46 printer pages of P taped up on my bedroom door. Darn, that's savage. Dislike for family member found mine was kind enough to just curl it up and throw it in the paper bin by the desk. When I was like 17 and XGF sent me a butt plug in the mail, I don't know why. I didn't really have any intent on using it, and she didn't even tell me she was gonna send it. And my parents found it and came into my room laughing and showed all of my extended family on FaceTime. Downloaded the video, and that was the only day I didn't check the downloads folder on my mother's phone because I was too tired post-nut. In the morning, she checked the folder to find some teaching material to prepare for her class that day and was greeted by a very unpleasant sight of vacuum cleaner salesman P. Needless to say, it was a long morning. That is one heck of a niche category you got there, lol. 12 and stupid. This is one heck of a legal category you got there. Used mom's phone, didn't know about browsing history. New anal explosion in China volume 2 is not something mom is used to watch maybe. Those accidents in China are something else. Huh, mom. Happy cake day. Thanks. Not P, but I was playing this beach volleyball game online one time, and if you got so many points ahead of the computer, the girls' tops would come off. I had been trying for weeks to get far enough ahead for them to go topless. Finally did it one night, and I kid you not, 60 seconds after unlocking breasts my mom walks in to tell me to get off the internet so she can make a phone call. Embarrassed and defeated, I tried to play it off like I didn't know that would happen. She didn't buy it. The good old days of NEWGROUNDS.com. I thought it was gamestowin.com. Pretty sure it was a game on MINICLIP.com. Happy cake day, breh. My father checked my history, so many extreme bondage P websites, it was traumatic. Probably for the both of us, lol. From that day on, he never punished you again. He actually congratulated her every time. That really is a turn off. Praise King Gober. Praise me, daddy. Borrowed my dad's VHS tape from his special drawer. It was Touch Me in the Morning starring Veronica Hart. Took it and watched and tried to return it. But Dad had already discovered it missing. He was pretty cool about it. He just said, "If you're going to borrow my stuff, put it back," and didn't make a big deal about it. I guess it was pretty obvious who took it, as we were in a household of Dad, Mom, 2 girls, and a teenage boy. Not saying girls can't have an interest in ass, but if your po tape goes missing in a house with a teenage boy, it doesn't take Hercule Poirot to figure it out. For those interested, that one is actually pretty good. At least Dad had a good eye. I'd rather not think about it. Well, if there was no such thing as time, you guys shared a moment together. B-Teen me, pretend to study, mom barges in, dick swinging. Brandy loved taking it like a champ on screen. Scramble and accidentally turn on sound at full blast, stare in shock and embarrassment. This isn't the War Thunder subreddit WTF hecko there. You've got a hole in your left wing. Attack the D point. I refuse. Okay, so my cousin and I are 2 years apart, and we were the best of pals. Since we were hitting puberty about the same time, a hot topic between us was S and dicks. One day we were hanging out at Grandma's as we often did, and while using her computer we had the brilliant idea to use this opportunity to research aforementioned related things. What ensued was just total chaos, and half of it was curiosity and half of it was because it was funny. I remember at one point we made Grandma's desktop background just nothing but dicks while she innocently crocheted 3 feet away. We looked at all the dicks. Ducks, whales, lions, tigers, and bears. Just so much dick. Later, while on the phone, my mother asked what we did on our visit, and Grandma told her that we had stayed on the computer most of the time. My mom was much more aware of our corrupt brains than our poor sweet Gindma. That, however, all changed when Mom suggested she take a look at the history. We were unaware such a thing existed, and thus began an ongoing and over a decade-long joke in the family. I'm still mortified when they bring it up, and to this day Grandma looks over my shoulder if I were to use her computer. I'm 27. Poor Grandma couldn't trust you again, haha. The pee all over the family computer is what gave it away. Were you the only suspect in your household? Blame it on you big bro, you lil bro, the toddler, even the dog, anything for plausible deniability. That reminds me of an awkward conversation I had with my dad in my early 20s. He worked at a vocational school with a computer lab, and my brother, 10 years younger than me, had a new video game that was having all kinds of problems getting set up. It needed a PCI card and a new graphics card, and even then never really worked right. Anyway, Dad brought the computer to school for the lab guy to do the install. He desent the computer back because it had indecent material on it. My dad's first assumption, justified, was that I had been doing stuff. But I hadn't. I was my brother, who was 11-12 at the time. He admitted it to me as an adult later and apologized, but my dad still doesn't officially know. Buckle up. Here's a story. Back in the 90s, our family had a VCR player that also recorded. For its time, it was high-tech. When you put in a tape with multiple clips in it, it could read where each recording started from, so you could rewind back to the start of each one. My parents programmatically recorded a lot of TV soaps as my dad had a long commute and they'd watch them together in the evening. My dad also had a collection of PVHS tapes, of which I would avail myself from time to time before putting back, thinking I was super sneaky and clever, etc. Fateful day and a holiday with the house to myself. That evening, my mom and dad sit down to watch EastEnders. They sit down and hit the auto rewind to the start of the recording. I realize way too late that the tape rewinds far too long. A 30-minute episode should take less than a minute to rewind to the start of the recording. But this tape is going all the way to the start. I hadn't put the recordable VCR tape back in the machine. I'd left the P-tape in there, and they were about to hit play on my dad's P-tape with their teenage son sat in the room. I remember the hot flush of shame as the titles played and being sent to my room. I was saved from certain death by the fact my mom didn't know my dad had them, so her anger was split evenly. It was a quiet house for a few days. They wanted Pauline Fowler, and they got Pauline's growler. Bravo, good sir. You know how doctors knock on the door when they're coming in? That rapid-fire triple knock immediately followed by the door opening. My dad used to follow Mom's lead and just opened the door, but after walking in on me once, he started doing the doctor knock. That's not enough time to put my dick away, so he ended up catching me multiple times. Never once changed the knock routine either. My mom used that knock routine as well, even when I was older, college, and had my GF with me. She told me I needed to find somewhere else to do it because she keeps walking in on us. So I told her would she prefer us do it in my truck and get arrested, or if she didn't want to see me railing my GF to knock and wait. She finally did after that, but still, it was always for the dumbest and my GF was mortified to be laying, clearly naked, under the covers while my mom stops to have a conversation mid-F. Greg Davies knows your pain. When I was 12, my mom discovered my magazines that I had brought home from a recycling bin sometime earlier and hidden behind my desk. She was cleaning my room and they fell out. No good hiding spot. Anyway, she took them to my dad, who was resting in the couch, and said, "What are you going to do about this?" When I came home from school, Dad and I had a talk about P and the difference between fiction and reality. He said that I could keep the magazines and told me to find a better hiding place for them. Reminds me of the story my dad would tell me sometimes, where he hid tons of Playboys under his dresser. His mom decided to clean his room while he was away and noticed his dresser was lopsided shifty from the pile of POS underneath. Lisa and moaned a little too loud. Next thing I knew, parents told me to get out of my room immediately, and they checked my browser. I'm picturing them walking in slowly wearing biohazard suits, after leaving police tape wrapped around your door. I never got caught when I was intentionally looking at P. Thankfully, the one time I did get caught, I clicked some random element of a web page that proceeded to open 20 windows of P sites, featuring women with big breasts. My dad walked into the room. Just as I shut off the screen, I told him it was unintentional, but he looked at every window as he closed them for me. I must have looked like a total perv when really I just stumbled into a podo. Your father didn't even let you explore exhibitionism, darn. Second grade me didn't know deleting your search history was a thing. I'd just search S on YouTube, and there were tons of actual POS. Second grade, dude. I was like 6 when I looked up naked girl breastsies on the family computer, while my parents were asleep, and that's where it all started for me. I started learning more and more after that. I was 8. I enjoy listening to music on my Bluetooth speaker when taking a shower. One day, after hopping out of the shower, I forgot to turn off the speaker, disconnect my phone from it. I was in my room with the door closed trying to watch, but when I turned up the volume a little bit, nothing. Confused. Thought it was one of those videos where you gotta have max volume to hear anything. So turned it up more. Finally, at max volume, I quietly hear from outside the room, "F me daddy," or something like that, and my mom came rushing into my room. She was just like, "What is that?" And all I could think to say was, "Darn, these Bluetooth speakers got range." Ha. That is effing hilarious, dude. I shared the video to the big TV on the living room by accident. That's effing rough, dude. She walked in on me and I didn't know she was there. She hit me mid-act and told me it's not something good girls do. She wonders why I never call. That's why you hit up grandma for ammo. I had a penthouse order hidden under my mattress, and my mother and I were moving the mattress for some reason. She just laughed and said I didn't see that. I was 14 or 15 at the time. Mildly awkward, but not a big deal. Reminds me of this Reddit post. I was genuinely skeptical, thinking it was some weird P or something, but it was just a picture of a girl playing with toys. Asked Dad if he preferred Wicked or Digital Playground better. What did he say? Or you hear Kratos' theme song. He liked the production values of Digital Playground, but appreciated the storytelling of Wicked more. It was 2006. I was 12 and the only free internet P in those days were riddled with viruses. Crashed my computer and my mom, who works in IT, tried to fix it, and that's how she found all the P viruses. I'm computer illiterate, so that's the only way I can describe the how. Anyway, I was grounded from the computer for a very long time. I'm also a girl, so in a way it was even more awkward than it would have been if I was just a horny preteen boy. The memory still keeps me up at night. My mom also walked in on me and my HS boyfriend the first time we had a S. She wasn't supposed to be home and I walked in on THEM my parents. My senior year of high school, so clearly I have terrible luck. You walked in on your mom and your HS boyfriend. No, my parents, Lamau. I see how that was confusing, lol. Mom was sleeping in the adjacent room, and back then laptops were fixed to one place. But my back faces the entrance to the room, so I didn't realize when she woke up and snuck behind me and yelled, "What are you watching?" I shut it and screamed nothing, obviously, and then we pretended like this never happened. How is it a laptop if it is fixed to one place? Gen Z spotted. Isn't it a monitor or PC then? I think you don't understand just how bulky these old laptops were. Sister narsed me out, editing for spelling error. Oh, That's not cool. She was supposed to tease you for some weeks, not to tell everybody lol.